We are crossing over. Today, Locked On Colts and Locked On Jaguars go over the already pivotal early matchup between these AFC South foes. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, good people? This is Shop Talking Wig, my man T Wig, along with Zach Hicks. We're doing a Thursday crossover because of this week's matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and I can't say because it's half of this broadcast, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Before we get going, I'll remind you that Crossover Thursday is presented by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is so much fun and it's easy to play. No competing with other players, just you versus the projections available. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on an entry. It can literally take less than 60 seconds to enter. That's easy. We love PrizePicks, and we know you will too. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's one word, Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. You can also download the app. It makes it easier. It made it easier for me last week, even though I didn't win anything and the Jaguars didn't win anything, but the Colts played a game and they didn't lose, but they didn't win anything either. So
division leading Indianapolis Colts. We are tied for that division lead right now. We're rocking.
Right. So we got some big matchups this weekend in this game. Zach, first of all, welcome to the show with us, and glad to have you. You're not necessarily a rival. Like I think you and the Titans, we both hate the Titans. Can we say that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Our rivals, honestly, when it comes to playing against the Jaguars, as someone who's covering the Colts, our biggest rivals in this matchup is our own inner demons, because we just cannot beat you guys in Jacksonville, and that's what we have coming up this week. So
that's part of what scares me, because we keep beating y'all here, and now that we need a victory, we're going to need to be able to pull it out. From the Colts' perspective, what's the key to winning this week's game?
Again, I think the biggest key for the Colts is really just getting over those inner demons of at Jacksonville. It's so weird. Every single time the Colts are going against Jacksonville, I mean, in the Frank Reich era, we can go all the way back to 2018. The Colts, after their abysmal start to that season, went on a tear the rest of the season. They beat everybody they played down the stretch, beat the Texans 3 times that year. They were just killing everybody. And then they had a 6-0 loss in Jacksonville that just didn't make sense to anyone. And then 2019, obviously, at the end of the season, the Jaguars beat them. 2020, opening week, all the excitement with Phillip Rivers, Jaguars spoiled that again in Jacksonville. And then last year, obviously, we can't forget that the Colts needing a win to get into the playoffs, and the one win Jacksonville Jaguars beat them in Jacksonville to spoil their hopes of the playoffs. And honestly, it's never been that these Jaguars teams have been the better team in the matchup. Maybe in 2019, because the Colts were not very good that season. But it's never been that the Jaguars were this juggernaut team that the Colts can't beat. It's just they keep killing themselves in this matchup, especially in Jacksonville. I don't know what it is. And the Colts players obviously all know this. They talk to each other throughout the week saying this is one that they want to win. But we're going on multiple years where they've said the same exact thing about this matchup. So when I'm looking at this matchup, I'm not really looking at it in terms of, what matchup in the game needs to win or what the Colts need to come out and do. They just need to get over themselves, and they need to find a way to win this game, because I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's some kind of voodoo stuff going down there in Jacksonville, but the Colts cannot win in Jacksonville. I mean, this even goes back to the Peyton Manning era.
Right.
There were some games in Jacksonville. I think the infamous 400-yard rushing game the Jaguars had with Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew. I think that came in Jacksonville as well. So this is just something that the Colts have always struggled with. And this is an opportunity. Again, they technically are the division leaders right now, but to start off the season with 2 non-wins in the AFC South, when you have the Chiefs coming up in week 3, that would be a complete disaster. So the Colts need to find a way to finally get over their own inner demons in this matchup.
right now for Jacksonville, we don't want to think it was demons because eventually those things go away, right? Luck,
Yep.
at some point, your luck runs out.
Oh, we know that. Luck definitely ran out for us.
Right. So, but for us here in Jacksonville, this is the best team that they've had since 2017. So, with more talent, more structure, better coaching, it's not the time to lose now, right? So we don't want to put it on luck. We want to actually put it on tangible things that's on the field. And I do believe that some things set up well for Jacksonville, and we'll talk about that in the second segment with key matchups. But I do think that mentally the Jaguars have to also get over their recent history of not being able to win. What happened with the Colts in the past won't help them. They won't score 1 point for them, right? Because if that's the case, if you think that's going to help you, then you haven't beaten anybody else for the most part. So that means when you play these other teams, that same mojo is going to be in effect, that nothing you do now is going to help you because you're depending on some sort of black magic, if you will. I do think, though, the Jaguars let one go last week. So what they have to do now is let go of the fact that they let one go because they were running up and down the field, even though Washington outplayed them. I'm not saying that didn't happen. But what I am saying is the Jaguars took control of the game and had the lead in the fourth quarter, and that's where you have to hold on to it. They forced the Colts into making – they forced the Commanders into making more mistakes than they did. You win the turnover battle, you usually win the game, right? And the Jaguars won the turnover battle, but they lost the game because the Commanders were very, very opportunistic where they needed to be. I keep saying Colts.
I know you're ready. You are ready for this matchup.
Yeah. So the thing is what Jacksonville has to do is mentally get over last week. And sometimes that's hard for a young team that's trying to win. But we will go on the field with it here in a second. What we're going to do is focus on key matchups here in segment 2. Key matchups, and I'm going to let Zach go first and tell me the key matchups that he believes will win the game for the Colts, and then I'll follow that here on a crossover on a Thursday between the Colts and the Jaguars, and we'll do it in segment 2 in just a second.
Yep. And before we get to segment 2, guys, I really want to let you know about Turo. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. I like to think of it as Airbnb for cars. It's a pretty cool concept. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, Canada, and the UK. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday.
Live betting is included, esports, and scores. BetOnline is where to go because BetOnline is where the game starts. Segment 3 here, along with Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts. Salute to your partner, too, man. Shout out to him. I know he didn't join us today, but
you scared him off, Tony. You scared him off.
I ain't scared. We had a preview show. I thought I was going to have to jump through and choke y'all, but it's all good. Y'all, I always want to choke the Titans and the Texans, but I kind of want to choke y'all too a little bit. But
look, we're very cordial here. We're very professional sometimes, and we like to keep it nice. We like to keep it nice on the pod. We got that Midwestern hospitality. That's what
you do. You do. At least we don't have to deal with this mayonnaise stuff that we have to deal with those people over in Tennessee. However, I'm going to go ahead and give you my score prediction. It's a tough one for me, but I'm going to go 23-21 Jacksonville. I'm going to pick us to win the game, obviously. I think being at home will make a little bit of a difference. I believe the Jaguars actually think that they left points on the table last week, which they did. They rallied and took the lead. From the second and third quarter, they actually, I would say the second half of the second quarter through the third quarter and the first half of the second quarter, they look like a playoff team. I think they're going to try to play more like that and eliminate the mistakes, the dumb penalties, the missed tackles, and win a close game. And the difference will be the fact that Matt Ryan can't scramble and get away. Okay.
My score prediction, honestly, a lot of my explanation is going to be similar to yours. Is I'm going to go 28-24 Colts. They finally get over the hump that is at Jacksonville. And I think it's a lot of the same things that you just said about the Jaguars. The Colts last week, if you look at every single metric, had no excuse to lose or to tie that game, almost lose that game, but tie that game. They outgained the Texans by over 200 yards. They were in the red zone multiple times. They just couldn't get it done at the end of the day. And I think coming into week 2, they know what's riding on this game. Again, you can't go into Kansas City with 2 non-wins against your division opponents. Then you have the Kansas City, and then you have Tennessee right afterwards. You can't drop this game against the Jaguars before going into that. So they know what's on the line, and obviously they always know what's on the line at Jacksonville, and they haven't been able to pull it off in the past. But I think this is a different Colts team. I think Matt Ryan's going to get them moving like he was in the second half of last week's game. And honestly, again, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines are going to be able to roll with those guys, because what you told me about those outside linebackers kind of being the bigger boys, I'm like, you know what? Let's just throw it to Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines every single play. Then let's let them get in space against those big guys. So I think the Colts are going to come out with a good game plan, and it's going to be a tough one, because every game against Jacksonville is a tough one. But I think the Colts are finally able to get over those inner demons this week.
All right, so let's go over the biggest stories. We're going to talk about the biggest stories, key matchups, and then give you those score predictions. Jaguars hosting the Colts. Bigger story for the Jaguars, in my opinion, is overcoming the fact that they left points on the table last week and they did not pull out the victory. The pressure that they're going to put on them. Don't worry about the witchcraft. Don't worry about the fact that you've beaten the Colts so many times in the past. Focus on the things that are in front of you and are in your face right now. And what that is winning every single play, getting off to an early start. The Jaguars are better when they can get to the sub packages and get the other team in long second and third down, long down and distance. They're better that way because now they can go hunting. That is my biggest story for the Jaguars. It's partly mental, but a lot of it is physical on the field. You got to get over what happened last week and move on to this week. What's your biggest story?
I would say, Tony, you're taking all my storylines here, because my biggest storyline is kind of has to do with that witchcraft that you were just talking about. For whatever reason, the Colts have this inner demon when it comes to playing at Jacksonville. And again, a lot of it's mental, some of it's physical. You got to overcome it somehow. Again, you can't go into week 3 with another non-win. And this Jacksonville game is as must win as it gets early in the season. So the Colts need to come out with their A game after kind of a dud performance last week. And they need to show that they are better than this Jacksonville team and that they can overcome the at Jacksonville curse. So the biggest storyline is, will the Colts finally get that win in Jacksonville? That's something that not only we've been talking about since last week, but also since the last game of last season.
Key matchup for me, I think the key matchup is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars being able to stop the run on first down and get to the aforementioned subset or substitutions on their defense. They have to stop Jonathan Taylor, and then they have to be able to tackle both Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines in the open field, because those are the two guys that have that wiggle, that can put that stinky leg on them. And I think if they can do that, you have to hit people and stop them wherever you make contact. That's going to be, in my opinion, the key matchup for Jacksonville, because I think everything else is going to be a little bit even. But to me, the key matchup is tackling in the open field and winning early, not just winning on the scoreboard, but winning early in each possession for Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think the biggest matchup for the Colts on offense, I think, is just the pass catchers continuing the success they had last week, and also continuing the success that the Commanders kind of showed that they had against the Jaguars last week. Again, Carson Wentz and those receivers were able to put up quite a few points on this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, especially when they weren't turning the ball over. So I think Matt Ryan and the Colts pass catchers can really build off that, and they can kind of find that similar success. And then on defense, again, the Commanders had a lot of success rushing the passer last week against this Jacksonville Jaguars team. I think that the Indianapolis Colts can kind of mirror that success. They have the talent up front. They just need to show it in this game against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Score prediction for me is 23-21 Jacksonville. I think they still struggle a little bit when they get in the red zone, but instead of going for it on fourth down so many times, Doug Peterson is going to take those field goals. He's going to put that money in the bank while he's in the bank, because we play in TIAA Bank Field. You like the way I did that. He's going to put the money in the bank while he's in the bank. And I think the Jaguars are going to do enough. I don't think they're going to have to kick the field goal to win the game walking off. I think they're going to kick it, be up, and have to hold on the way they did not hold on last week. And I think they're going to beat the Colts 23-21.
Yep, and I got the Colts taking it 28-24. They finally overcome their inner demons, and they actually do put together a full performance. Again, it's going to be a tough one. The Jaguars are always a tough out for this Colts team, no matter if they're the Super Bowl Colts or if they're the the winless Colts. The Jaguars are always one of the toughest matchups for this team, but I do think that ultimately they are able to get over their inner demons, and they don't have to actually make a kick in their game. I hope they don't, because last week they ended up with a tie because they had to try to kick a game-winning kick. The Colts don't have to make any field goals in this one. 28-24, Indianapolis Colts over Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, I think the difference is going to be the heat. I don't think they're used to it. It's going to be 100 degrees on the field, and Jaguars are going to pull it off. But we thank you for making Locked On Colts, Locked On Jaguars crossover your first listen. But we also would like you to know that to make your second listen, the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, on every single platform. Listen, this has been fun. It's been cordial. We were nice to each other.
We were.
Right. Locked On Jaguars, Locked On Colts. Make sure you lock in to both. Subscribe. You can see him at Zach Hicks 2, the number 2. And you can check me out on Twitter at Shop Talking Wig. Until next time, you guys take care of each other, and we'll see you on our postcast on Sunday from Locked On Colts and Locked On Jaguars.